This is my second time here with you at CalJam, and last time we talked about nutrition and biohacking and collagen and brain octane oil and all kinds of good stuff. Since then, in 2018, at the end of last year, Merriam-Webster's added biohacking to the dictionary as one of the new words added to our language. And I'm actually in the definition, which is totally weird. Which might be the coolest thing that's happened in my career so far. Biohacking is the art and science of changing the environment around you and inside of you so that you have full control over your own biology. And it's a really safe argument to say that what you do for a living puts you right in the middle of that, because you're changing what's happening inside a person's body. You're also changing their environment, because the vast majority of chiropractors I've worked with will tell you, so what you eating? Which is something that, strangely, you don't really hear in a normal doctor's office very often. It's kind of weird. And so I've looked at the field of chiropractic as being a part of the vanguard, the forefront of this idea that we can change people to have control of their own biology. So my first big book was Bulletproof Diet. What can you change in your food that can help you lose 100 pounds the way I have? Another thing happened last month. Okay, I have stretch marks, so I haven't figured out how to hack those. I'm working on that just because I'm kind of interested, and more than a few. But Men's Health came to my house and did a piece, and they said, hey, take your shirt off and do a photo. Now, there's something that you may or may not know, if you're in this kind of health and fitness business. All the people on the cover of those health magazines, they took diuretics for a couple days and starved themselves for a while to look all lean and shredded. No one told me I was going to take my shirt off. Plus, I was like fat, right? I'm not taking my shirt off. But they begged, borrowed, and cajoled me. So there's a full-page photo of me with my shirt off in Men's Health without any prep work that happened this month, which was actually way more frightening than a lot of other things I've done. But I'm just going to say, that shit works. And my next book, Headstrong, hit the New York Times Science bestseller list between Homo Deus and Sapiens, with some of the books that I'm like, I can't believe, but like these are the books that I've enjoyed the most this year, which was also an honor. And that was about how do you fix your brain after you fix your body? How do you make your brain work better? And then I thought, what's next? Well, now that I've got my energy back, I've got my willpower, what am I going to do with that? Well, it just so happens that for 5 years, I've been interviewing hundreds of the world's most game-changing people, lots of them from the medical field. Billy's been on, Nobel Prize winners. Eric Kandel, who discovered neuroplasticity, has been on. And at the end of every episode, I ask them all the same question. If someone came to you tomorrow and said, I want to perform better at everything I do as a human being, what would your 3 most important pieces of advice be? Now, I phrased the question the same way and asked it very specifically because I wanted a data set. So now that I'm up to 600 episodes on Bulletproof Radio, it's won a Webby Award, 100 million downloads, I hired a statistician and we went through all those answers and all those transcripts and we teased out the patterns to see what matters. And the reason this is really relevant for you is that this is exactly what your patients are really asking for, and you'll be surprised to know what came out of this. This is called a word cloud. The size of the word tells you how many people thought that was in their top 3. And who would have thought nutrition would come up number 1? Not everyone I interviewed was an expert on nutrition, but everyone who learned how to do big things, whether it was a charitable thing, whether it was an actor, they all somehow figured out over time that what you eat controls how you perform as a human being at everything you do. They also noticed other things, like relationships stood out very, very highly, which also isn't something that I necessarily would have thought. When I asked Eric Kandel, who's 94, has an office, a lab, off of Central Park in New York City, 3 most important things, he thought about it for a minute. He said, number 1, have a good wife. So, how often do you talk to your patients about that? Someone comes in like this, how's your wife? You're not trained therapists, at least most of you aren't. But I got to say, sometimes your spouse really is a pain in the neck, right? We say that for a reason. And even the talk you just heard, looking at heart rate variability, same kind of thing. So there's all these tools that you can have that apply to what your patients do.